Okay, let's talk about the executive summaries. The purpose of this assignment is going to be to summarize significant takeaways from the class. That's your experience and your involvement in the simulation. It has two parts, and we're going to complete those in this assignment in the format of a professional executive summary. Remember, you are not writing this to a professor or an instructor or a teacher. You are writing this to the senior executive in your company. So first part will be a summary of the presentation from part 2, and then a summary of your reflection on the mega team experience. Let's look at each one of these in a little more detail. Part 1. Again, real quick, I want to point out the rubric. If we pull up the rubric, this is a 70-point assignment. If we pull up the rubric, you have 4 headers. Use the rubric to establish your header rows, in bold format in your paper. Okay, part 1 is the executive summary of presentation. So assume that you're invited to present live the slides in the benchmark final presentation assignment. So that was covered in another video. Look at that video. And the scenario here is you were invited to take those slides and present them in, let's say, a company-wide meeting. But the CEO was unable to attend the presentation. So the CEO has asked you to provide a professionally formatted executive summary of your presentation, including the following in your response. You need to summarize your presentation. Make sure to single space your summary and format it professionally, and be sure you address what precisely you are asking the reader to do about the content. Every presentation should have a call to action, and that's what this is addressing right here. Be sure you address what exactly you are asking the reader to do about the content. You're making a presentation right here. You're going to summarize your presentation, and then there should be a call to action. If you don't have the call to action, then this assignment's not complete. So a call to action might be focusing on a particular brand and establishing that brand within the marketplace as a stronger brand. That's a call to action. It might be to focus more on our engineering and become the best engineered car in the market. There should be some sort of call to action that ignites the reader or the people you're presenting to take some action. All right, then we get to part 2. Well, let's talk about part 1 a little bit more. How long should it be? So there's no clear word count requirement in here. So, and again, with word count, I'm not fickle about word count. I just want to make sure your ideas are fleshed out fully and completely and as succinctly as possible. So you'll have your slide deck. You will summarize that. If it takes 1 paragraph, 2, 3, 4, take what you need to do to summarize it. But remember, it's a summarize. It's a summary. You're not giving every single detail in the world about your presentation. You're just summarizing it. So I would say 1 to 2 paragraphs should be sufficient. Then we get to part 2, the executive summary of mega team experience. So effective leadership is complex. Leadership is not easy. It is complex, and it's very interactive and context-driven. So you have 3 concepts here that are being presented to you. The complexity, which is in business, leaders must operate in a very dynamic and ambiguous environments and are expected to set and achieve goals while competing against well-capitalized, smart, worthy competitors. So read through these. You have context and you have strategy. Then in the mega simulation, as a member of your corporate leadership team, you had to deal with complexity and ambiguity in pursuit of a winning performance. You also had the opportunity to establish your values, your mission, your vision. So reflect on the complete simulation. And in a separate 1-page, single-spaced executive summary format, respond to the following prompts. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can either submit two separate documents, or if you can include these in the same document, then part two should be on a new page, a separate new page. So first, reflect on your team's interaction as leaders. So the interaction between each other of your organization throughout the simulation, considering the 10 characteristics of servant leadership. They're all listed here. Answer this question. How did your individual participation contribute in any of the elements given? So this is a reflection on your, specifically your individual participation and how that participation contributed to your behavior as a leader, considering the 10 characteristics of servant leadership. The second part is, did your mega team develop a competitive advantage in the simulation? You will have to evaluate that. If you don't know what a competitive advantage is, look through your strategy guide, look through the glossary in the simulation. It's defined there too. If you did, how did you manifest the context, the values, mission, and vision in your leadership interaction with your team? If not, how might you change to contribute as a leader more meaningfully? So this is, did you develop a competitive advantage? Yes or no, as a company? And then answer these other prompts in here, depending on which way you answer that question. And then the third part of this is, as an entry-level professional employee in the role of a strategic analyst, which is what your role was in this class, how specifically might you encourage a company to endorse and exemplify tenets of the Christian worldview in the workplace? Propose and defend at least one significant leadership initiative. So this question has two parts. So considering yourself an entry-level professional, how could you encourage a company to endorse and exemplify tenets of the Christian worldview in the workplace? Is that through your personal example? If so, give me specifics on what part of you being an example to others encourages others to operate in a Christian worldview. Or if you're going to go to a leader in the company and propose certain values or activities, be specific. Tell me what they are. Then the second part, you're asked to propose and defend at least one significant leadership initiative. So this needs to be a real leadership initiative. So what is a leadership initiative? Perhaps you are looking to train leaders from within so that any open leadership positions in the future you could fill from within instead of the company having to hire externally. Maybe you're trying to develop that Christian worldview, and how would you do that? What leadership initiative, what leadership action would you take? Think of this as something that you're rolling out to the whole company with CEO support, but be specific about what it is and how you're going to roll it out. I would like to have at least 3 actionable points on how you're going to roll that out. That's how you defend this. All right. If you use references, put them at the end, and you should have at least one reference, which is a simulation. You may have others. Again, a reference page is a separate page at the very end of your document. So that's the executive summary. Reach out to me if you have any questions.